Blue Gamer Bluecast Live. I'm your host, Adam Blue, video gamer for a long, long time. Very knowledgeable of the industry, game development process, but mostly in playing video games. So I just have so much knowledge to share every week. I want to be able to do this live stream and talk about it because I just love talking video games. If not here, Gundam Explained, my other YouTube channel, Thursdays. Have a live stream. Sometimes do some video game talking with Stephen Bayless of Midnight Hatter. So that's on Wednesdays. His live shows Wednesdays. I'm on that too. A little more video game talking, but that's kind of free for all with a lot of different stuff. But hey, it's September 22nd, so we've officially hit fall, and I am very happy about it because it has been super hot here in Texas, and as someone that's a video gamer, right, going outside isn't really part of that hobby, but actually I like to be outside when I can. But now, anyway, it's great the way the weather's been feeling outside. It's that time of year when an Assassin's Creed and a Call of Duty comes out, and that's exactly what's going to happen this year. And I'll talk a little bit about that here shortly. But just, to talk about stuff I've been playing this week, I'm still all over the ROG Ally. Love it. In fact, today I installed a 2 terabyte SSD in there. It came with 512. The SD card failed. The SD card slot broke like most do because it's in a spot where there's a lot of heat transfer. I kind of don't care because I don't want to run games off an SD card anyway. But I think what was cool about that is I could put an SD card and transfer stuff, but I have other ways of doing that. I have a USB, SD card thing I can just plug in. I have a dock. I can plug that in. I mean, I think that kind of stinks, the whole SD card situation with the ROG Ally, how, for most people that reader fails, but I don't think you really need it. I think that was just there as a convenience to transfer stuff, but there's other ways around it. Anyway, yeah, got the 2 gigabyte in there. That was really easy to do. I just cloned the OS and everything, so I don't have to redo everything. Right now, I just have my SD card plugged in through USB on the dock, transferring, because oh, great. I got a call right now, and I kind of need to answer it, but I don't know if I really need to answer it, but I'm live. Text. But anyway, yeah, to continue, we're having the 2 terabyte SSD. Yeah, at first I didn't think I needed it, but as I can see the ROG Ally can play large games really well, I started installing more and more. So it's actually pretty fun to have the ROG around. I've been using it so much. But when it comes to other things I've been playing, so I kind of beat that Double Dragon Gaiden that my brother got me, and I think it's hard to actually beat it. In a way, I think the way to beat it is you unlock everything, which is like tips and music and art through the tokens you get from playing. At first I want to say Double Dragon Gaiden is a great game. I think it's priced correctly because I think you can kind of master it and then move on. It's interesting because there's 4 levels. You could beat them in any order, but the order you beat them in depends on the later levels having extra stages at the end of them, which is pretty neat. And once you beat all of them, then you have an option to accept $10,000 from the mayor, $10,000, or if you don't, it gives you a 5th mission with the real final boss, and you get more from that. It's just interesting how it works because when you die, it's permadeath, if you want. I mean, you can pay to continue, but the idea is once you're done, you delete that save, or it deletes itself, but you retain tokens that you use to buy things. So it's an interesting loop. I think the mechanics are super on point. In fact, the one complaint I had, they actually addressed it, and that was to run in that game. I think the most competent beat-em-ups have a double tap to run, double tap forward to run. It was the R button. So I would be playing and need to have my finger up at the R button to run. And I was too crazy about that, but an update just came out either yesterday or the day before. I want to say it was yesterday. And it added double tap to run. It's like the one complaint I had, they actually thought about fixing it. It's like, wow, they updated it for me. No, but The other thing they did, which I appreciate, is they added more iframes or invincibility frames. Like when you go to grab someone or you're starting your animation for your super, there's a lot of times where you're stuck in an animation that you might see, oh, an enemy's going to hit me, I can't move away. They've added a couple frames to help out, and I appreciate that. Something else I noticed that I didn't notice before is that when you go to hit run or double tap to run, you do like a dodge roll first. So they made it where running, and I guess thinking about it now, I could tap R to dodge, but continue to double tap the control to run. You know, it's interesting how it works that way. Like dodge could be its own separate control now because it's a dodge roll that wasn't there before, unless I just completely missed it. And they've added that in, and that helps because there are some scenarios where if I could think at the last moment, I'd want to dodge into something. And so I like that they've made those changes. They even made it where, I guess because they've added those iframes, they've actually made the enemies a little tougher and they reduced health you get on things. And I think that's fine because I think what the game was missing was mechanics that you can leverage to avoid getting hit. And so I think double tap to run, adding the dodge, adding the iframes, allows someone to master the controls and the mechanics of the game. Something else I'll add is, JamKillX, good to see you. Glad to see you on here. Another thing they added, another thing I want to add is the music in Double Dragon Gaiden is awesome. I've always liked Double Dragon music. Double Dragon Neon is like top tier video game music. And then with this Double Dragon Gaiden, they just double down on that. Like it's a different developer, but it comes from the same lineage. And the music's really good. They kind of go with that whole 8 to 16-bit look, pixel graphics. The music is excellent. I recommend this game for anyone. I bought it twice, or I received it from someone, then I bought it on a different platform. I think it's worth that. It's a lot of fun. So there's that. As for anything else, I've played a lot of Call of Duty. I don't know what got me to get back into it, but I think it was my son, my youngest, wanted to play it by himself. He was like, "Hey, where can I play this?" And I think it's on Xbox. I had it on Xbox. And then I have it on PC as crossplay, so we've been able to play, or on my ROG Ally playing with him. And it's been very fun playing Call of Duty. It's been almost a year since when it first came out, I played it, and then I prestiged, and then I stopped. Now I'm getting back into it. To me, Call of Duty is more of that, like, backup, gamey game, when I just want to sit and kind of allow my mind to go through game mechanic motions without having to think too much, but it's be thrilling and exciting, and I think Call of Duty is just that. I get bored of it easily. Sometimes I can only do 3 or 4 matches, and then I have to move on, but it's just fun for a little bit. And there's some other news about Call of Duty I'm going to get to that is just mind-blowing, that right when I'm playing it, they do this new update thing, and I'll get to that here later on when I get into news. But yeah, I wanted to bring that up. I'm playing the first Descendant. They have the open beta. To be honest, the game looks and plays perfect. You know, it's one of those things. But the setting and level design is something I think I can get bored of. And that's what I think a lot of games suffer from. And maybe ones that have been coming out or are coming out now, and maybe they're going to change this moving forward. But, you know, this happened with the Avengers game when it came out. Like, it had a really good combat system, even between multiple heroes that had their own controls. But then the level design and the mission structure was just like, it's not fun to play with it, you know? And so, it reminds me of Play-Doh. It's like, right? Like, Play-Doh's cool. You can do whatever you want. You can mold it. It's fun. But if it's dry, it's useless. Even though it's cool. It's Play-Doh. You know, you got what you can out of it, but now it's dry. Just throw it away. I don't know why that came to mind, but that's how I feel about it. So anyway, yeah, the mission structure in the first Descendant is kind of like it's open world. You'll come up to a little icon, start mission. You just start it, and you just follow the waypoints while you just destroy enemies, and it could be that other players join you at random, you know? So I think that was pretty cool. But again, like, once I got out of the mission structure, I'm like, I mean, can I see myself playing this long-term? No, and I felt like there was a little bit of that with Destiny, where, yeah, again, the mission structure would get kind of redundant. I don't know. I feel like games need to have oh, the world you're in need to give you options. So, like, if I'm playing the First Descendant and I'm just fighting bad guys, I'm just shooting them, just trying to kill them. But like a game like, and I always go back to this Sniper Elite 5, where there's like options for how do I want to approach this, different enemy types, different weapons I need to use depending on the enemies, traps I can lay. I always use Sniper Elite 5 because it tends to have really strong mechanics, but within a setting, a world that you're playing in, that you can do so many different things. It's like a sandbox, but it's still focused. I think that is a hard to nail formula. So yeah, let's hope. I don't know. Let's hope First Descendant gets better, and I'll play it some more. But yeah, let's hope it gets a little better. And I wonder if that's it for what I've been playing. I think so. In general. I don't want to forget anything, but yeah, that's really been it. Double Dragon, First Descendant, Call of Duty. Not playing Starfield. I might have played it once or twice since the last Bluecast, and it's just not my thing. It looks great. It's not the exploration is very minimal. It's really not about that, even though it seems like it. It seems like the exploration is mainly saved for the feel of exploration between a planet or being in space. But the game really relies on the fast travel, and even when you're in an area, it's really contained. I don't know. And then people, like the dialogue option stuff that goes on. To me, it's taking up my time. And, even the general consensus, even though people like it, fans of Fallout, fans of Skyrim like it, it hasn't really struck that chord that I think Xbox was hoping to. And I think it's because it even in my opinion, I think it's a fact, it's not as revolutionary as it seemed like they were saying the game would be. In the end, it's really just a skin for Skyrim or Fallout 3, which, if you like that stuff, that's fine. But I think for the production value and the hyping and Xbox using this game to say, like, oh, no. Like, Xbox needs something that's a Spider-Man or a God of War. Starfield is not that, but... And I'm not even big on God of War. And in fact, I think Spider-Man is fun, but just okay. But those have intrinsically, I guess, the mechanics are at the level of the production value. They kind of coincide with each other. So, anyway. Okay, so I wonder, if that's really it with what I've been playing. I'll come up with something that I've been wanting to talk about, but I keep forgetting. But I'll have to, we can get into some news. Oh, real fast, Jimkill X. I've been telling everyone that Starfield is basically an empty space, puns for modders to fill. That's a good point, because I think that's the other thing about these Bethesda games is the modding. Usually that's what takes off. When you hear stuff about Skyrim, even years later, it's mod-based stuff. So I think that's what Starfield's going to be all about. I think they're going to leverage that, the modding aspect of it. So... that's something to take in consideration. Good call there. Okay. So, I'm going to go through some news of the past 2 weeks. Because, again, I didn't do my show last Friday. Family in town. And, I've been pretty busy with work. So, it was hard for me to just pick another day. But anyway. So, real quick, I just want to talk about the Unity thing that I think is very interesting. Unity, huge free video game development engine. People can make video games from it. Steven from Midnight Hatter does that stuff. My youngest son made a VR game using Unity, which I still think is mind-blowing. But they came up with this thing now that each install, the Unity, the people that run Unity, which are they just called Unity? It's called Unity Engine. So yeah, I don't know. I haven't really thought about what their name versus software is. But anyway, they're charging for each install. And so a lot of developers were scared that, man, that's going to be a ton of money that we're all of a sudden going to be charged for that we didn't expect. Especially if a game's going on Game Pass. And then there's 500,000 people downloading that. Each install is going to cost. It's weird. And to me, what this really sounds like at the end of the day is you get a board, and then they want to be able to make so much money. So they tell the CEO, hey, we need to make money. Here's some ideas. And sometimes the CEO just has to go with it. At the end of the day, Unity was free, and things cost money there, and so they're like really looking at, okay, how can we make money? And I think they kind of just went as far as they could to see how that goes, and then reel it back after the backlash. I don't think things were necessarily thought through, but I also think that's not what these board members are going to do. They're really just going to see how can we make the most money. Oh, does that hurt our image? Okay, let's change things up. Unity's just so big. I feel like there's going to be this tug of war between users and Unity itself until they kind of find a middle ground. I feel like it just has to be the case. It would be crazy for all that. So they really fired cannonballs into their own boat. Yeah, that's like exactly what happened. Okay, what was the other? This, I have to turn off my ad blocker. Oh no, I'm using ad blocker. But new Contra game got announced, which is pretty cool because it's whenever you get Konami coming out with a game that's like, oh wow, awesome. Konami, a game that's not a pachinko machine or slot machine, but yeah, new Contra, also developed by Way Forward, who did the Contra 4 that I don't remember when that came out. I don't know if that was late 2000s or early 2010s. That was on the DS, so I'm thinking late 2000, but I don't remember exactly. Contra 4 looked great. Way Forward does a great job. The only issue I have with this new Contra is that they're kind of using what I would call cheap or scaled back 3D graphics, which is fine, actually. That doesn't really affect the way the game would play. But I just don't like that look. I'd rather them just went with pixel graphics. But hey, let's see how it goes. And this actually gets into another topic because there was recently one of the developers of Sonic Superstars was saying how, is that this one? No, they didn't go with pixel graphics and they went with 3D graphics because they wanted it to seem modern and it's more future-proof. And a lot of journalists and gaming pundits made fun of that comment. Like, oh, of course pixel graphics are future-proof. And I'd push back on that. If we look at the newest Mario Wonder that's coming out same month as the new Sonic, that's using 3D graphics. They're not using hand-drawn animation anymore. They're using 3D non-pixelated graphics. I think that is the right move for a company making these more kid-focused or family-focused games moving forward. Pixel graphics to certain generations don't seem old because we grew up with them. So when we see them in modern games, it just fits. But for younger generations growing up where they're not playing games with pixelated graphics, it's not going to be a big deal for them moving into the future. So I think it's the right call for Sega to do that. They can still come out with pixel graphics Sonic games, but I think it's the right move for them to go 3D. And the reason they're doing it is, yeah, to kind of look modern and stuff. So Contra 4 was 2007. Oh, man, I was thinking that, but I was like, man, that seems like such a long time ago. But I guess it was. Yeah, Konami went a long time without making games. But so anyway, I'm actually excited about the Sonic Superstars, and I think there's something to be said about moving from pixelated or pixel-based graphics to 3D, as long as it looks good. So, but yeah, so this massive Xbox leak. So this is very interesting. So there's that, FTC battle going on, with Activision and FTC to try to, or Activision and Microsoft, FTC has to look through everything to make sure that it's legally sound. And what happened was, I guess Microsoft was required to upload files to the FTC, and I guess they kind of did it in a way that made them publicly accessible. And so in that had a bunch of interesting things. It had, Microsoft saying, in jest that they would love to buy Nintendo. And they understand that that's going to be hard to do, but that's something they would do if they could. Valve is an option, which I think would make a lot of sense to buy Valve. Actually, it's like I almost wouldn't want them to. Steam has gotten Valve with Steam. That's their main thing they're known for, even though they did Half-Life. They've been able to go get by for a while in the video game industry, revolutionizing things along the way. That Steam storefront was huge, changed everything. Microsoft then has one too. It's their Xbox store, but it's not as big as Steam. And if Microsoft was to buy Valve, they would then have this storefront that they already put their Xbox games on, that they could easily have a little Game Pass option in, where you're in Steam, what is it called? Xbox Steam, and you pay the price for the Game Pass, and, think about Steam having the free games that you get with Game Pass. I mean, that could still happen even without buying Valve. That could be what Microsoft's planning for. But, the other thing, too, is Steam being on Windows PCs. The Steam Deck is going into the direction of Linux with their Proton OS, and it's kind of like what Stadia was doing when they were doing their streaming, where games had to be ported to Google. Yeah, when games had to be ported to Google Stadia, they had to be ported into Linux, and it actually had a better experience with the streaming. Xbox, and here's the other thing that's going on too. It's in the other news too is that the other leak is that there's this like cylindrical Xbox that's going to be a refresh coming out late next year. But again, this leaked information is old, so it could be that those plans have changed. But there wouldn't be any other upgrade other than that it would be an ARM processor instead of the X64, X86. I could get that wrong, what they're using right now. But the ARM processor is more of a mobile platform processor. It's just nowadays they're just as beefy as desktop processors. And what this tells me is that, Microsoft is thinking about how to utilize smaller graphics processors so they can have a handheld of themselves. Sony's got their PlayStation Portal coming out. Nintendo has the Switch. We have the Steam Deck. We have the ROG Ally. Xbox can easily be like, oh, well, on the ROG Ally, you can play Game Pass games. The thing is, there are still a lot of Xbox games that don't play on PC. And these could be backwards compatible games. These could be modern Xbox games. In fact, like that not Ninja Gaiden, I keep saying that, Double Dragon Gaiden that I got gifted to me on Xbox wasn't one that could be played on PC. It's their Play Anywhere. So I had to buy that. And I think Microsoft has to come up with a way to make it where their Xbox library is completely portable. And if it is the cloud route, they don't have, as far as I know right now, there's not a thing where you are using your Xbox as the data center for streaming. Microsoft is still relying on the cloud, on Azure. PlayStation has their Now, which I don't know what they're doing with that exactly, if they're still doing that or they canceled that or whatever, but they do have their Remote Play, which I think that gives a better experience. So it's going to be interesting to see what is really going on. Yeah, I would even think if these leaks were from a year ago, and it's old data, I'm sure a lot of things have changed. I'm sure they're thinking more in the handheld space right now. So it would be cool if Microsoft came out with a handheld. I mean, and I'm just saying in terms of getting Xbox games, not that, yeah, you can have a portable PC like the ROG Ally, play Game Pass games that are PC Game Pass or Play Anywhere, but there's still a large library of Xbox games. Anyway, when it comes to the other leaks in here, I don't think there's anything that's really a big deal. It sounds like things you would expect executives at Microsoft to talk about. 3/4 of Xbox gamers had a Series S. That's very interesting. So a lower performing Xbox was the main one that was bought. I think that's really telling, especially with how popular the Switch is. It's like, how much do people really need the most powerful thing? I think a PS5 sells just on name recognition alone. PlayStation, that's the most mainstream other than Nintendo. Or when you're thinking of kids kind of getting out of that younger age and they become teenagers, sometimes there's this shift from Nintendo stuff to like PlayStation. Yeah, interesting stuff. I don't know how much, sometimes when leaks happen, how much they're really deliberate. You never know, because that could kind of change, again, what's being said, but it's really no big deal out of this. No big deal. Okay, so here's something that is just insane. I was telling you I was playing Call of Duty, right? And my son and I have just been playing the past couple weeks, and then we're like, man, look at these cool operator skins, and then my son, I don't know if it was me or my son that said it first, it's like, man, they need an Ash skin because there's one of Fortnite. And we're like, man, that would be awesome if they did that. I don't see them ever doing that. Well, they've announced it. There's an Ash skin coming to Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 in Season 6. That is insane. This is like my favorite thing ever. In Fortnite, I have the Ash and Blade skin. Those are like my favorite like heroes or characters. Characters growing up. I love, especially once that like Blade movie came out. I think I was like 16 when that movie came out. And I was like, man, that is the coolest thing ever. And then Ash, always liked Ash ever since I was a kid. And even probably when I wasn't supposed to be watching the Evil Dead movies. But love it. And the fact that they're coming out in Call of Duty with an Ash operator bundle, with the shotgun chainsaw. So the Skeletor is there too. And speaking of chainsaw and shotgun, actually, there's going to be a Doom pack that has a shotgun and chainsaw. So it's very interesting. One of the first like revolutionary FPS, even though it's really Wolfenstein. It has weapons popping up in like the next generation's revolutionary FPS was Call of Duty. I think it kind of went like Doom, GoldenEye, Halo, Call of Duty. I think that's kind of the order of like the revolutionary FPSs. Oh, hey, Ian, good to see you. I think that is where xCloud comes into play. I don't think that we will ever see a handheld unless they buy Valve. Well, yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Like, the xCloud, and I don't know if you guys know this right now, but you go to launch a game in xCloud, it might tell you you have 15 minutes until you can play. You have 2 hours until you can play. Their xCloud technology is not as efficient as Stadia was, as PlayStation Remote Play is because of the local remote streaming, and that they don't have all games available. So from Xbox to get every Xbox game that they possibly have in the library available for everyone on handheld, they'd have to make their own handheld or somehow port all those games. Because, yeah, there's a huge library of games that are missing, and that's what's interesting about the PlayStation Portal when it comes out, because you could play anything that's on the PlayStation, which is pretty crazy. And that's the thing with the ROG Ally. I can play anything that's on PC. So I can play remotely. I can play anything on PC, anything on Nintendo Switch, anything on PlayStation 5, but not anything on Xbox. So that's the one that's missing out. Yes, Ian picked up the Portal. I would have bought it. Great price if it wasn't for having the ROG Ally. But the Portal seems like it is an excellent idea. Totally awesome. I might even still get it eventually because it's not too expensive if I want a dedicated PlayStation device. Because I almost think with the way the controller is on that Portal and the new Sony Link, PlayStation Link for the PS5, that might be a better experience than the ROG Ally because it's Sony. I like that idea. Yeah, I think that's going to be great. So, yeah, some other things coming to Call of Duty. They have Spawn, which is pretty neat. They have characters from Activision. Oh, Diablo. I guess that's Diablo Lilith and Inarius. I don't follow Diablo too much. Let's see. There's other ones I saw, I want to say. Oh, that's so awesome. I wonder if, like, Bruce Campbell will have some voice lines. That would be amazing. Oh, here we go. The Modern Warfare 2 Ash Evil Dead 2 operator bundle is expected to be $20. Just because of other licensed bundles like Lara Croft. Okay. It's pretty neat. All new voiceover recorded by Mr. Campbell. It's also hilarious and amazing. Wow. That's awesome. Love it, love it, love it. That is like my type of thing. And so, that's really cool. So Modern Warfare 3 is coming out November 11th, I think it is. And everything you can do in Modern Warfare 2 right now will transfer over to Modern Warfare 3. I know that wasn't always the case. Like, I want to say there was, like, between Cold War and, what was the other, Vanguard, and then Modern Warfare 1, like, there was some games that didn't transfer over, and then there was Warzone 1 and Warzone 2. I kind of wish it was all one singular thing where you can unlock stuff through all Call of Duty, but no, I get it. That's kind of hard to do. And I think they make more money just selling whole new games each year while having people buy bundles of, skins and operator packs and all that. But I'm excited about Modern Warfare 3 because it's going to have all the original Modern Warfare 2 maps. It's going to have its own single-player mode. It's one of those things, or again, we're talking about fall. Fall has started. It reminds me, going far back, there's always the holidays when you're playing video games. And then there's a time where Call of Duty became that tradition during, Thanksgiving week. Playing Call of Duty or playing Assassin's Creed, because Assassin's Creed Mirage is coming out also. Hopefully that's good. I'd like to try that out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to just doing the classic thing, playing Call of Duty during the holiday break with the kids too. Looking forward to some Bruce Campbell. So that's awesome. And you know what? I think that is it for this episode. I think I've covered everything. Something I gotta do later. I covered everything I've been playing, all the interesting news. I know I skipped a week and I probably forgot some of the news going on. My plan moving forward is to try to save interesting news I find during the week, in a folder, so I can remember to bring it up, because there's so much I always want to talk about. But anyway, Ian's saying, I wish they had left the skins I had bought across both war zones. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. I remember getting the skins, unlocking skins in the first Warzone that they didn't carry over. So, at least we got these 2 games that are doing that. So, at least that's something. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good weekend, and we will talk later.